It's an honor to be here. Don't you feel that way? I mean, I'm listening to these stories, and I just go, wow, I am just privileged, really, to be here. It's true.
I think you're going to learn some incredible things today about what's happened in the last year. After 1 year, we're working with 603 friends. $75 family members, and 182 of those friends are in therapy that we pay for. Much to do with the money that you raised last year. Last year at this event, we raised $250,000 because of you stepping up, you believing in a concept, and me begging, I guess, kind of went hand in hand with it. We build a staff that has the passion to actually save a life. But the key to this structure truly is our peers. This is someone that my son Gary would have talked to. If Gary met a peer, Gary would be here today. I believe that completely down to my socks. The average is 33 days to get into therapy across the country. We get you in between 1 and 2 days because we wouldn't accept that. We found an answer to that. And how are you going to have suicidal thoughts and ideations and you're going to wait 33 days? Really? It's not going to happen. But what we had to do with our peers is we had to build a model that our peers can thrive in. And if they can thrive in it, magic would happen. And what we're going to do, I'm honored to tell you that we're going to come out and share some of that magic with you tonight.
Answers start with questions and come when we're open and ready to receive them. What if the solution is so obvious that we're completely missing it? What if together, all of us here can build a community where mental health care is acceptable and accessible? What if all of us believed that it is okay not to be okay, and it is also okay to ask for help?
So I'm going to share a little bit with you guys my story, what brought me to here tomorrow, and really what they've done for me. In early November this year, or last year, I picked up the phone and made a call that would save my life. I suffer from trauma, chronic pain, and alcohol and opiate addiction. I was to the point of just surviving to make it through each day and surviving on a very thin thread. I was struggling with the ability to live, and I'd lost myself completely. That deep, deep loss when you look in the mirror and you don't even know who's looking back at you. This is a scary place, to say the least. I decided to pick up the phone and call. This is where my journey begins. I called the number listed and was immediately connected with a recovery peer specialist named Amanda Frankenfeld. That evening I arrived a little early and was immediately met by Amanda, the same person I had talked to earlier in the day, took the time to sit down with me and explain in even greater detail about the resources available to me and how Here Tomorrow could help me. I stayed that evening for group and was blown away by all the different people that showed up and the different struggles that they were working through. 2 days later, during my first one-on-one session with Here Tomorrow, I was able to go into detail regarding my addictions, trauma, and chronic pain. Once again, I felt like their number one priority, that all my concerns were truly being listened to, and that this was not cookie-cutter therapy, but tailored directly to my issues, my comfortability, and to where I was at spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Since my time working with all these resources provided to me by Here Tomorrow, I've seen my life change drastically as I begin to learn to live again. I've learned to set barriers for healthy relationships, positive word choices, and working through self-esteem issues. techniques to help manage chronic pain, and solutions for taking pain medicine as prescribed until I have to have surgery again. I've been sober from alcohol for months now with suggestions provided by staff with real-world experience in addiction. This is after having multiple years of sobriety in my mid-20s and just now asking for help after a 10-year relapse. I've been learning to work through trauma related to military service and also non-military related trauma from accidents that occurred in my life. I've been working with my recovery peer specialist and doctor provided to find solutions for depression and isolation resulting from working at home for over 2 years due to COVID and due to alcohol addiction. Since my time working with Here Tomorrow, I've begun to find a new hope and beginning. I'm starting to see a light shine again in my life. I look forward to the future and I'm learning not to live in the past but in the present. I'm truly grateful for the team at Here Tomorrow. I know that my journey has just begun, and a journey means that I'm going somewhere, and this journey is going forward in a positive direction.
I believe that every single person in this room has been affected by what we are trying to change. So going into a little bit about why I love Here Tomorrow and why I'm really passionate about our work. As Hannah and Joe both said, we are all people with lived experience. And my lived experience comes from generational trauma and addiction, where growing up, I had 2 parents living in a very low-income area who suffered from undiagnosed mental health conditions and very severe drug addictions. By the time I was 11 years old, I had lost both of my parents, really everything I knew, to inaccessible health care, to people living in poverty that couldn't go to the doctors, that were forced not to talk about it because the stigma was really intense in my family, and they couldn't ask for help. So instead, my mom decided that her kids would be better off if she were to take her own life, and she did. And I will be the first person to tell anybody, your children are never better off without you. Better off to me was, in turn, trauma. Years of therapy, a pretty severe drug addiction, and a lot of self-harm and suicide attempts. And I learned a lot from that. I learned that she didn't have to go, right? There were so many options if we could have afforded it, if it was allowed to be discussed in public, within the home and outside of the home. I love this work because Here Tomorrow is exactly what my mom needed. I could have had a much different life if she had the things that we offer these friends and these family members, and I believe that with every ounce of my being. I truly do. So when I found Here Tomorrow, while looking for a career change and really a lifestyle change, it felt really surreal. This was my dream come true, right? To be able to help people and change the outcome for other people's families, because mine didn't have a chance. But Joe, Kenny, and Gary's legacy, they give me the opportunity to make sure that no little girl has to live without her mom. If we have something to do with it, it will be different, and I guarantee that.
As everyone has pointed out, is how common it is, right? Every household, every family, including mine, has been affected by it. My maternal grandmother in India committed suicide, died of her 4th suicide attempt. No one knew that she had bipolar mood disorder. My father left his surgery residency and decided to become a psychiatrist after that happened. So it's in every household. We have physicians, physicians as a group are one of the professional groups with the highest suicide rate. We are losing nurses. This country loses a medical school worth of physicians every year to suicide, right? So these statistics become real in the stories that are shared here. So thank you, everyone, for sharing it. The second thing that became clear to me is that I am a representative of a failed system. I, as a psychiatrist, stand here in front of you, in front of this group, as part of a system that has utterly failed. And nowhere else is this failure more evident than suicide. As every one of these stories have pointed out, what is the common theme? Help was not available when it was required. When help was available, it was not adequate. 3, people who actually were able to get help where there was adequate help, there was still this sense that no one understands us. No one quite gets the pain, right? So that's the second thing that comes to mind listening to all these stories. And those are the gaps. Last year I spoke about it. For some of those who are here, there's a risk of repetition. But I try to walk the journey of a person who is suicidal, right? So a person says, where do I go for help? Well, one option is to call a suicide hotline number, and they're great, they're supportive, but they're there only for that moment. There is no follow-up, there is no ability to connect people to get help on an ongoing basis. The second option is that we make hundreds of phone calls and are told that the next appointment available is 6 to 12 weeks. That's the statistic. That's born true here. The third option is we go to an emergency room. And what happens there? Is that emergency room ever designed to cater to someone who is suicidal? Almost never, right? It's designed to cater to physical emergencies, not psychiatric emergencies. And I say this with absolute honesty. Again, I've been a psychiatrist for 20 years. I have never felt more fulfilled than I have in the past year being part of Here Tomorrow. We don't let go. We will be there for you. We will walk with you for as long as you need us to walk. And that's the gap that we have filled.
I am so glad that they are located in Neptune Beach. I'm the mayor of Neptune Beach, and I absolutely was thrilled to have them come there. I was distanced from them. I was like this person that is just watching, and saying, oh, look at the great work they're doing, and the first anniversary came, and we're so excited, and look at these great people and what they're doing. But I was distanced from it in that way. And who is here saying and giving the care that is needed are such incredible people. And that is something that, again, I was distanced. Little did I know that just a few weeks ago, I got a call from my daughter who said, Mom, I need you to get over here right away. Her sister, our other daughter, Kim, is talking suicide. What? That call doesn't come. That call is not something that I ever expected to hear. Those words are terrifying for anybody to hear, and they're serious. And I got on the phone as I'm driving over to her, and I called Here Tomorrow. I really don't know who answered the phone, but I said, is there someone there? I might be taking my daughter in a car over to see someone. Is that possible? Absolutely, bring her over. You've heard of stories where they can't get in to see someone in weeks, months. We've heard months. I've heard a friend of mine who couldn't get her child into a child psychiatrist for 3 months. Within 1 hour, Kim was with Amanda. Kim is going through therapy. Kim is doing great. Got to compose myself a minute here. I swore I wasn't going to do this because nobody did it, so I'm not doing it. You did. Amanda did. Amanda got Kim. When they were through and they came outside, and I'm telling you this was a couple of weeks ago. This was less than a month ago. And this was such a traumatic feeling. And yet, the only thing I knew to do, the vision had come to me. The person who had the vision, Hannah and Joe, had explained, never did I think I'd be calling on this institution, on this group of fine people. And here I am today before you, saying to you, wow, are we lucky? Wow, are we fortunate? I think the most important thing that I want to share with you guys tonight, and what's so obvious because of what we've heard tonight, is that the need, and Mayor Glasser and I talked about this, before, and truly the need is growing. The need around us just keeps multiplying. It's good to hear that people are getting help. Hope is something that is in this room tonight, is at Here Tomorrow every day, and is with every client that they see. I'm proud to tell you that Kim chose to come with us tonight, and I'd like for you to applaud. There is hope. There are people that care, and there's a caring group of people that are just actually in this room tonight, and each and every one of you have been so warm and smiling and friendly, and I think that what we all have to say is we have to support Here Tomorrow. We have to make sure going forward that it is sustainable, and I see it growing. I see this model growing. I see Joe's vision growing. I see the help that is needed being there, and that all of us can be a part of it. I'm going to leave you with one more quote. And if today all you did was hold yourself together, I'm proud of you.
In November of this past year, Shane had pretty much hit his rock bottom and became suicidal. Being a nurse for 30 years and my husband a fireman in Duval County for 30 years, we knew that our only option would probably be to Baker Act him into a hospital. And we knew that wasn't what he needed. We were at our rope's end. We didn't know what we could have done for him without Here Tomorrow. They provided him with the immediate, caring, and compassionate care that he needed. He didn't feel judged that day. He knew that you all had been there where he was, and that made the difference in saving his life. My husband and I have attended many of the support groups. We've learned a lot about each other, and that has supported us during this time. We're grateful. No parent should ever have to lose a loved one because they can't get care, be it financially, accessibility, anything. And Here Tomorrow provided that to us during mine and my husband's most darkest and neatest time in our life. And I thank Here Tomorrow for that and saving my son's life.
I unfortunately lost my son David to suicide back in 2007. He was only 25 years old in the prime of his life. And I will tell you, there's not one day that goes by that I don't think about him and miss him and wish that he was here living his best life. I was able to go to a support group called Suicide Survivors, and after a few years, I was able to co-facilitate. And what happens there is people that have lost a loved one to suicide, they come in and we talk and we support each other. It's really a wonderful, wonderful group. But because of COVID, we were unable to continue. And we're still kind of waiting now to kind of get back into things. So hopefully one day we will. But Here Tomorrow has given me another channel that I can honor my son, David. I work for an internal medicine doctor in Jacksonville. And in early 2018, Joe Kinney brought his son, Gary, into our office. And after Gary had his appointment, the doctor came out and asked me to please find a counselor for Gary today or tomorrow. Had to be. So I got on the phone and I called and I called and I called. And the whole time I'm calling, I'm thinking about my son and how I don't want Joe Kinney to go through what I went through. Well, the soonest appointment that I could get for Gary was a week or so out, and he needed it right then. Unfortunately, many months later, Gary took his own life, and another family is left devastated. So Joe decided that he would do something, and apparently when Joe Kinney decides to do something, he does something. So Here Tomorrow is born. It's great. So when someone comes in that's hurting and hopeless, they're able to be connected with these wonderful peer counselors who know exactly what they're feeling. What happened in my office with Gary is exactly the opposite of what's happening at Here Tomorrow, and how profoundly wonderful that is. I often wonder if Here Tomorrow had been, for my son, for Gary, maybe the outcome would be different. But moving forward, I think that it will be. This is a great, great organization, and I'm so proud. And I will leave you with this. I always tell people that my son David did not want to leave this earth. He just didn't know how to stay.
It turns out that my Uncle Jim's plans were to go to the Richmond gun show alone and purchase a firearm. Our family received an automated suicide note via email at 8 o'clock that evening. We were beyond hurt and confused. I was baffled. I couldn't understand how anyone could do something like that. But I would come to learn, and I would come to understand. I was a high school teacher and a college professor for over 20 years, but after the loss of my parents, I myself descended into a darkness insidiously, and that darkness became so profound that I forgot how to be a human being, and then began cycles of self-numbing. And with the self-numbing, I came to know how truly sick an addict can become. At one point, the only light that I saw for myself was to end my own life, and then began inpatient facilities, and ultimately, I was incarcerated. That is how I came to understand fully and learn what that was for my Uncle Jim, and also what it was for my mom, who died of a drug overdose at 56, and for my aunt, who drank herself to death in a tent alone in the woods of Virginia. So in recovery, after those dark years, I've developed a level of empathy to be able to connect with people. You know, when our friends and families come in to Here Tomorrow, a peer recovery specialist is able to work directly from their worldview and from their mindset to empower our friends to find their own solutions with alternate perspectives and ideas. When our friends and families honor us at Here Tomorrow by sharing their hearts with us, we are able to say authentically and uniquely, me too. You know, me too. At Here Tomorrow, we have the opportunity to help all kinds of people that come to us. I share what I did to recover from depression and anxiety and addiction to help others heal. Peer specialists, we all draw on our life's experiences in a very intentional manner to inform our discussions with our friends and families. No light shines brighter than those that have overcome adversity, and I believe that we are a key element in helping others find or rediscover that light.
The people we work with, we call friends. And the reason we call them friends is because that's what they need and that's what we need. They're not patients, they're not customers, they're friends.
At Here Tomorrow, we're simply a warm and welcoming, safe place to have a conversation about mental health, to speak your truth.
You know why you're here. We all know what we're doing here. We're here to make sure that this is sustainable that with your generosity that we can keep it going. And the most important thing is that we support it, we talk about it, we make sure that people understand that there is hope, there are people that care, and that we're here tonight to make sure that all of us are ambassadors to spread that word.